Welcome to my video podcast. My name is Caroline and I give a very warm welcome to everybody who takes the time to click on this video and maybe watch for a while, and while I talk about all the crafty things I like to do, which is mainly knitting still, and I think I will be, but I do other crafts, and if I do so, I'll definitely show them. And in this episode, there's going to be a little bit of knitting, spinning, and natural dyeing that I want to talk about, and a little bit of yarn acquisitions, even though they're not very exciting. Yeah, and that's about it. It's been a while since I last recorded. I think probably like 2 months, not like 1 month that I was planning on doing, but yeah, it's just been the summer and we did a lot of things and we've been on vacation and all that good stuff. So let's start with the knitting. I have a finished object I want to share with you today, and I'm super happy that it is done. This is the Boxy by Locatelli. And I've had this on the needles for a while now, and I mean, it is a big project. There's lots and lots of stockinette. It's, as the name suggests, a very boxy cut. I think I could probably fit in here, like, not gonna lie, 4 times, 5 times even, if I want to stretch this fabric. But yeah, it makes it very, very drapey, very, very cuddly, huggy. And the yarn, it's a dream. I used Wollmeise yarn, the blend base, which is a blend of merino, cashmere, and some nylon. So the typical MCN base. And this is the colorway Lennox, which is this aubergine mauvey, kind of speckled or variegated, I don't know what you want to call this, yarn. I knit this whole thing in the helical knitting, so I wouldn't have like cuts with the new skeins. Yeah, and I'm super happy. I used up virtually everything. Like, I don't know, it would take now forever to find the leftover bit, but I was for sure playing yarn chicken for a while. I thought I'd be good. I might even have something left over. I think that's what I said last time. But then I kind of did not realize that you knit a bit around the yoke section, which, I mean, doesn't take a whole lot of yarn, but if you're already playing yarn chicken, that takes up a bit. But yeah, then the sleeves are very, very short. I think I had to cut the sleeves probably like 1 or 2 rows shorter than technically the pattern would have called for, but that really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. So yeah, I'm very happy. I used up every last scrap of it, and let me tell you, this should have been done already like 3 weeks ago, I guess, but I don't know what it is with me. Maybe I was just like highly unconcentrated in June or something, because I already did all the mistakes with the shifty that I had to rip back now 3 times or whatever it is, and pretty much the same story here. So last time I showed this to you, I think I was nearly done knitting up the front flap to the, where I would have to do the, because there is like this kind of rib pattern, just like horizontal rib, not vertical rib, up here. And yeah, obviously you start, or you can start knitting it in the round, and then you split for the sleeves here. And yes, it's a lot of stitches on the needles, so I used fairly short needles. I think I used maybe 80 centimeter needles, so it was all bunched together. So I couldn't really tell how many stitches I had on either side. And as you can imagine where the story goes now, I split wrong. Because I cast on for the size small, because I just didn't want it huge. But I did all the length and measurements with a size M, which is my usual measurement. And I guess I just forgot when I was counting. So I was just counting out the stitches for the size M, which would be then more than for the size S, obviously. So I had more stitches on the one side than on the other side. And I didn't even notice when I was knitting up the front and the back, again, because it's all just bunched up on the needles, so you don't really see that the one side is much longer than the other. Long story short, I had to go back to when I split, and I had to, because I put this fake seam in here, I had to take that out completely. I mean, it goes very quickly if you just rip back the one stitch all the way down and then just like with a crochet hook crochet it all the way up, but nevertheless I had to do that, and then I knit up the front again, and then I obviously paid attention when I did because I noticed when I did the short rows the very first time that I had way less on the needles than all of a sudden than for the other side, and yeah, and I noticed again, I was wrong again. I did count wrong again. I don't know what happened the second time. Like the first time, I feel like it's forgivable, but the second time really wasn't. At least I only knit up one side, and I had to rip that back again. And then I counted, I think like 3 times that I had the same amount of stitches on both sides. And yes, it finally worked out. Third try is a charm or something. I don't know how that saying goes. And yeah, and then knitting the sleeves and all that was actually very, very quick. And I knit this back and forth so much. You know how I told you that I use, I'm knitting flat, I use 2 different needle sizes for the purl stitches. I guess my hand just got so used to purling that I didn't need to do that. All of a sudden, there was a huge difference between knits and purls again, even though I was using the 2 different needle sizes. And then I just knit it with my 1 needle size, and then it looks good. So yay! I did a little bit of training, and I guess my gauge got nicer now, which is a good thing. So yes, boxy, hochi locatelli, very, very happy. Can only recommend. I've already been wearing it while I'm working here at home, so you can wear comfy clothes, and this is perfect for it. And yes, the only other project I really touched that you already know is my sock project, and this actually does not look any different than last time you looked at it. So I'm talking about the Dear Björn socks, and I'm blanking on the designer. I'll put it in the down bar. But they're super gorgeous. They appeared in the 52 Weeks of Socks magazine, published by Lane, or not a magazine, it's a book actually. And yes, I'm on the second pair, and I think I'm pretty much exactly where I was last time, with the only difference being I had to rip this back because I did the stitch pattern the wrong way, because they have to look in opposite ways, which they do now, but they did not do that before. So yeah, a little bit of progress on these. I was actually knitting on these after I finished my boxy, and while I was waiting for some yarn for a new project that I'm very, very excited about. But before I get into that, the yarn I'm using for this sock is, I'm never well prepared for this. I don't know. It's some commercial sock yarn. I think it's online. Vierfach tweed. Again, I'll put it in the down bar. I really like it though. It's this nice beige tweed. Very, very pretty. And yeah, these are going to be for my husband because I knit them too long basically, and I guess they're not too tight for him either, so he can wear them. I did cast on another pair of socks because I just wanted a normal basic vanilla pair of socks, and I know I said that before, and I did cast another pair on because yeah, I just wanted to figure out my stitch count for a vanilla pair of socks, but I used this non-stretchy single ply yarn, and I feel like they're already way too big and maybe not quite representative of a normal, boring, standard sock. So I cast on again, and this time I used some Retrosaria Mondim sock yarn. And I do not have, it's over there, the ball band. I don't know what colorway this is, but it's really nice. I got this yarn when I was in Canada in the yarn shop in Toronto. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe a little bit stupid to buy European yarn in Canada, but whatever, that just struck my fancy and I really like it. And I like how it's knitting up. It's kind of a self-striping effect I'm getting. And it's like self-striping between the blue yellow parts and the gray bits, and then within the blue yellow, the blue and yellow really stripes itself. So that's really cool. I just hope that the second sock will look similar and not have like a completely different way of pooling, but I'll guess we'll see if that happens. But yeah, that's just the first sock. I mean, I cast on quite a while ago, but I'm just not a big sock knitter. This is really just something I do while I'm in the car or something. And yeah, that's that. And yeah, I don't know, all my other projects are kind of just waiting for me. I was working a little bit on my crochet baskets, but not really a lot to write home about, so I'm not gonna show them here. I want to rather talk about a dream project that I'm going to cast on very, very soon, maybe even on Monday. Today is Saturday when I'm recording this. I already swatched for this because it was quite the pain to find a yarn that would work for this project. And the project I'm talking about is the Rose Cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And I'm going to knit that one for my sister who turned, I don't know if she wants me to share this. I mean, it's just an age, but whatever. She turned a round number, let's put it that way. And yeah, she is going to start working in a new office, which apparently is getting very, very cold during winter time. So everybody told her, get a sweater or something warm you can throw over. And since she's at work, she's going to wear blouses. So she wanted something fairly baggy. And I don't know why, but I was already kind of looking at that cardigan and it just looked super interesting just because of the construction, because it is a knit like bottom up, top down. It's kind of knit from the cuffs in like, I think in altogether 6 pieces. And yeah, it's definitely not a straightforward knit in the round kind of project. It looks very interesting. So I was excited to cast that one on. And I might have just pushed her a little bit in the direction. I mean, I looked up quite a few different patterns that she could choose from and get inspired by. But yeah, I was definitely telling her that, yeah, I would really like to knit this one. And so yeah, she liked it too, thankfully, and decided that she wanted that one for her birthday. I mean, her birthday already passed and I haven't even cast on yet. So obviously I'm just gonna knit it and give it to her whenever it's done. But yeah, and my aunt chipped in for the yarn for her birthday, so that's awesome. It's kind of a present for me too, because I get all the knitting fun. And yeah, and I'll probably put in a picture of the pattern, like the pattern photos from Andrea Mowry, and she knit this one in a fade. And even though you can knit this one in one color, I think the whole fade makes it look even more spectacular. So we were looking into some colors and hand-dyed yarns, and long story short, I'm going to dye it on my own. So we decided that we're going to get some light gray yarn and that I'm going to over dye it. And the winner is Filculana Anina, and you guys already know that I really, really love the Filculana Pernilla, which is the one I knit the hunter vest out of for my husband. And this is kind of the thinner version, even though I just realized, not just, but I did realize that this isn't the Peruvian Highland wool. It is actually superwash merino wool, but I think in the end that's actually good for my sister, because even though I'm sure she'll appreciate it and be careful with it. She does want to throw it in the washing machine and not have to deal with hand wash, so something super wash will be good. And this feels so lovely and squishy, not at all plasticky like super wash tends to feel like sometimes. So yeah, and it also supposedly super wash is better for dyeing, so I hope that this will take, because I'm planning on doing this with acid dyes. Yeah, so I'm really hoping this will work out. And yeah, I did swatch for this, and I actually was swatching with a different yarn first. This is just something I already had lying around. I knew that is kind of, again, super wash, easy to care for, and affordable. Okay, sorry, I had to stop there for a second. There was some commotion going on. By the way, if you hear like street noises or other noises, like it's so warm, we have to open all the windows and everything. So I'm sorry about that if you do hear something. And I totally don't know where I left off, but I think I was talking about the whole swatching for the rose cardigan. And actually I didn't really mention this, but the pattern calls for a 26 by 38 stitch gauge, I believe, and Andrea Maury suggests, or was using for her sample, sport weight yarn. I think the La Bien-Aimée Sport. And I don't know, for the life of me, I don't know how she got the 26 stitches in 10 centimeters with a sport weight yarn. So the first yarn I was trying with is this one, which is the Malabrigo, sorry. It's the Lana Grossa Cool Wool Melange is this one. And I remember what my gauge was here. I think it was something like 22 stitches. So it's very far off. And this is with a 3mm needle. And the thing is, I don't want to knit with whatever 2.75 or even 2.5mm needle. It's a huge cardigan and it's just not super comfortable in my hands to work with these super skinny needles. So kind of 3 is my minimum that I want to go. So this is a swatch with 3mm and is way off. It's not just a little off, it's way off. And yeah, and then I measured my gauge actually on my boxy cardigan, which also is a sport weight yarn. And again, it's a very similar gauge to what I got with the Cool Wool. So I decided maybe just not sport weight, although I kind of was reading in Ravelry if other people had the same issues, like just on the project page and stuff. And there were a few questions there, like what if I don't get gauge and can I knit this with fingering yarn? And Andrea Murray was like, well, I really highly suggest using sport weight yarn. But at the same time, if you don't get gauge, and for this one in particular, because you count all the way the rows, there isn't really like knit for 13 centimeters and then do something else, where the gauge doesn't matter that much anymore. And also kind of doing recalculations with a pattern that is that complicated. Just knowing how that already screwed me over with a shifty cardigan, that wasn't something I was going to do. So I ended up just ordering some fingering weight yarn, and what I landed on was this Anina, which is actually 210 meters in 50 grams, so it's even a little bit thinner than your typical 200 meters per 50 grams wool. But here, like just on the ball band, it says the stitch gauge you can expect is something between 26 to 28 and 38 to 42. And I hit exactly that with my 3mm needles. So I have now a 26, and I don't think I hit the 38 precisely. I think I have a bit more. I think I have like 40 rows or something in the 10 centimeters, but that's fine by me. That's close enough. I don't think you get it perfect. And yeah, I can knit with my 3mm needles, and that makes me very happy. So we have a winner here, and I actually swatched with the the Filcolana Pernilla that I already had, which is the thicker one. And again, it was a similar gauge than I had with all the other sport blades. I mean, I think I'm fairly average when it comes to my gauge. Like, I usually get what it says on the ball band, which is very nice for me, I guess. But it's good to double check, and yeah, definitely. And it's very important to wash your gauge swatch. I have to admit, I don't swatch all the time, and even if I do, I don't necessarily wash it. But with this one, actually, when I started knitting the first part with the 3mm needles, I think I had something like 28 stitches, which was already then more than the 26. And I was like, oh no, I have to go up a needle size, because I was worried about the fabric then being just too loose and stuff. But it bloomed. It totally bloomed, even though it's like a superwash yarn. But that's nice. That makes me happy. Anyway, so I'm going to dye for this, and I'll see if I find a good picture that I can post here. I'm going to kind of base it off the fade kit from La Bien-Aimée. They made a fade kit for the fade point shawl by Jorge Locatelli, and is called For the Love of Grey, I believe. And yeah, because my sister wanted something that fades from light gray, so the color I have for my yarn, and to a dark gray charcoal with some blue speckles. And that fade kind of hits the brief in that. I think that fade also has a bit of like rusty yellowy speckles in there, but I can just omit them. And my sister also said she is a little bit scared of it looking a bit dirty, because, and I think that happens when you have like high contrast sections in there. So if I would put on this fairly dark gray spots and stuff, then knit up, it tends to have a little bit of a dirty look, especially it being gray. So I'll try dyeing this kind of soft. I'll be sure to take pictures. I think next time I'll be knitting, I'll probably already, yeah, I won't have all the skeins to show you. Maybe I'll still have a few from the dyeing. So I skeined most of my yarn already up for dyeing, obviously. I can't really dye it in this ball shape. And yeah, as I said, I'm planning to do this with acid dyes. I'm going to use the Jacquard acid dyes. I actually ordered a few more colors there, and I'm very, very excited. Today I'm actually expecting a shipment for like citric acid and some zip ties and tongs that I'll be using for the dyeing. So I hope I can actually dye tomorrow and then cast this project on Monday. That would be great. Yes, so this is all my knitting I wanted to share with you today. I know when I started this, I was talking about how I am a very, very monogamous knitter, and then all of a sudden I just cast on all the projects. Like, now I have like 3 pairs of socks going, and I had the boxy on the needles, I have the shifty on the needles, now I'm going to cast on the rose cardigan. But when I was starting to think about the rose cardigan, it really started to make me very anxious that I had so many projects on the needles. It's just not for me, I don't think. That's why I was like, okay, I just want to get this boxy done, so that I can cast on this rose cardigan without feeling bad. And the shifty, I actually ripped it back now, finally. So that's just back to 0 pretty much. So I think I'll just push that to autumn or the fall, because it's a thick yarn project anyways, and I'll just cast that on and kind of treat it as a new project in winter then, because I'm still excited about it. I still want to do it. I definitely want to wear that sweater. I think it's going to be so nice once it's finally done. But yeah, having so many projects on the needles just makes me nervous. I think it's nice to have like a small project and a big project. So I have my socks, but I definitely want to finish the socks for my husband, and then I only have those 2 socks, or technically I'm just going to have 1 vanilla sock. I don't even know if I'm going to carry on with the other pair, because I don't really like the fabric of it. I might just do something else with that yarn, honestly. And then I can keep an overview. So yeah, that's that. I don't think I'm actually gonna get to casting on a summer top for me this year. Maybe we'll just go to that section real quick, acquisitions, because I'm part of the acquisitions obviously was the yarn for the rose cardigan, and then I got a bunch of yarn to dye with, because yes, I am dyeing a lot lately, and yeah, I'm not going to show you every single one. There's a few different ones. I ordered some fingering yarn, which is just your standard merino nylon, I believe. I don't even know what kind of yarn it is, but it's like a high twist fingering yarn that I ordered 4 skeins of for dyeing. And then I was, with my summer top in mind, I ordered some cotton yarn that I was planning on dyeing with some indigo. And then I also I ordered this from Webetante, which is also a German online shop, and this one, the high twist fingering, I ordered from Das Wollschaf. They have a huge assortment of natural fibers, or natural looking fibers, like undyed fibers, sorry. So yes, but I wanted to try this Webetante shop, because they had some nice tweed yarn as well, and then I also ordered a skein of mohair, just because I thought that would be nice too. And yes, I want to use them all for natural dyeing. I actually got this stuff for natural dyeing, because that's just the rabbit hole I'm in right now. And yes, speaking of natural dyeing, I did a little bit of natural dyeing, which is in here, and I'm super happy. Like, I mean, I know last time I was so happy about the result I got with that cotton yarn from my mom, and kind of stepping away from it a little bit and getting some feedback from family members who've seen the podcast or who've seen the yarn. They're like, yeah, it's cool, but kind of looks just like the color of rope. And I think they're right. I mean, I don't know. It's just so exciting doing the whole natural dyeing and everything, that you just overlook the result. I think I was just so excited with it. And I don't think it's ugly, don't get me wrong, but it's not the most exciting color. It's not even a real color, if you will. It's not really a green or a blue or a red or a yellow. It's just kind of a wish-wash brown beige color. And even though my mom said she was very happy with it, I think she was just being nice. And after talking to my aunts, who were like, I don't know, she was like, okay, maybe you can over dye it. So I haven't done that yet. I think I'm just gonna over dye it with actually some acid dyes as well while I'm dyeing the yarn for my sister's sweater, and then she'll actually have a color. But natural dyeing, I did do an experiment, and it super paid off with some Mahonia. And I don't know if the colors are gonna come across now, but this is a super lovely olive green. And yeah, like, even though I'm not, like, I mean, obviously blue is my favorite color, but I love green as well. And I already mentioned that I want to knit more with green things. And my husband's favorite color actually is green. And I think this is just such a nice shade. It's not like a screeching poisonous green or anything. It's just like, I don't know. I'm honestly really, really happy. And I've actually had some time to think about this and not just be excited because this is natural dyed. So yeah, as I said, this is dyed with Mahonia berries, which are, like, in person, they're blue. And if you squish them up, they're kind of reddish. They a little bit like, oh, I don't know what those berries are in English, sorry. But anyways, they kind of get this red violet tinge to them. And if you dye with them just naturally, and actually I also threw in a little bit of just fiber. If you just dye with Mahonia, you actually get this kind of purple red color. And then, okay, what did I do? Now I need to remember. Yeah, so, and this is all done with Mahonia, and this was kind of my test strip, if you will. And yeah, and then I put the green end, I put in a alkaline solution, and then it turned this crazy shade of green. And then one of the two ends, I don't know if you can tell, one of them is a little bit darker. I put some iron on, and I think this little strip, maybe I'll just put in photos, I'm not sure if this is gonna do it justice, that kind of turned this bluish gray. And yeah, I was very excited about this. I mean, this was the fiber, and I didn't morden the fiber, so this was just like straight on the fiber. And I mortared the yarn with some alum before, so I can't show you now, and I'm not sure if I took a picture of it. The straight up dye with the Mahonia berries actually looked a little bit different than on the fiber. It was just deeper. It was the same kind of color, but it was just a deeper hue of it. So yeah, and I decided to just throw this into an alkaline bath as well, and that's what happened. And I was planning on speckling it with some iron. I just had some iron rusty specks, but that didn't do anything. I think for that it really needs to dissolve in the water to have any effect on this, or maybe iron just wouldn't have any effect. But then I was like, I actually already love this color a lot. It's already deeper than I would have expected to begin with, so I just decided to leave it as is, and I'm very, very happy with that. So that's my Mahonia dye experiment. And then I also dyed some fiber with Avocado and with some Elderberry, and they're actually very similar in shade. So I decided to use those two together, and now I just realized I forgot to bring something here, which I will have to get. And yes, with those two, I made up some Rolags. Whoop. Ooh. Together with some brown and white, just natural colored fiber. And that leads me to my next section, which is spinning. So, as you guys know, or maybe not know, but let me tell you, in July, there was the Tour de Fleece, which is I think it's 15 days long. I think it was like from the 1st to the 15th or something like that. No, it was up to the 19th. But yeah, whatever. It's like a 3-week spin along to the Tour de France, which is obviously a biking event, which did not take place this year. I think they postponed it to August. I don't know. I'm really not into biking, so I never watched Tour de France. But yes, as technically the wheels of the bikers spin, the wheels of the spinners spin as well. So I took part this year, and I don't know, I only set myself 2 goals, which I'm very happy that I achieved. So I had one thing already going, and I actually didn't talk about that last time. I already had that going the last episode. It was this yarn, which is now done. And this is a mix of my advent calendar fibers that I believe I mentioned before. And this was 5 different colors that I just spun up one after the other, and they were all shades of like pink and red with a little bit of blue and purple. And I decided to just over dye it with blue because, as you guys know, pink is really not my color. So yes, it looks like a sport weight yarn, but just from the like how many the yardage I got, it's actually a fingering weight, the yardage to the weight. But that might just be maybe because I spun it woolen, so it's very, very airy. And yeah, I'll have to make an actual gauge swatch to see what gauge I get at, to see if it's more a sport or fingering. It looks like a sport, but the WPI is actually also fingering. So I don't know if it just squishes together. As I said, I'll just have to make an actual gauge swatch and block it and see what it ends up being. But yeah, I just didn't really, this was kind of something I just threw on the wheel when I was feeling like spinning something, so I wasn't very consistent. I wasn't really paying attention, so it's definitely a little bit thick and thin, but I still, all in all, it still turned out nicely. It is a chain ply, so it has 3 plies, and yeah, there's not much else to say about that. So yeah, I had that on the wheel, so I wanted to finish that, which I think I did within like the first 3 or 4 days of the Tour de Fleece. And then I started my next project, which was this. And this was a Malabrigo Noob top in the Huajas. I don't know, I'm really not Spanish speaking at all. Colorway, which is obviously this blue and green. It turned out the finished skein turned out much greener than I would have anticipated. Like the fiber looked way bluer. But yeah, I kind of like this. And now I realize I actually forgot to mention something in my acquisitions, but I got something to go with this, because this is like this blue-green, which I don't really have any other yarn. And I really want to make something with my handspun yarn. I don't want to end up with a huge stash of handspun that I don't know what to do with. And I'm just kind of realizing that those two look kind of nice together too. But yeah, I got myself some more fiber, which, I don't know, it's basically the same color. This will be much more blended, because this I just split the top, I think twice in the middle or something, and then I just spun it end to end. So the colors are kind of more aligned. So in the ply, you definitely see 3 distinct colors. This is a traditional 3 ply, so I spun 3 singles and then plied them together. And again, this turned out something between a fingering and a sport weight yarn, which, I don't know, while I was spinning the singles, it looked super thin, and I thought this would be actually way too thin, like thinner than a fingering in the end. But yeah, it fluffed up nicely during washing, so I'm happy. Like this is good yarn for me to work with thickness wise. And yeah, this will be way more blended, but I don't know, I'm kind of toying with the idea of making a Vertices Unite shawl with this, but I'll definitely need a bit more contrast color as well. So now I'm just kind of thinking maybe this one would go well with that. Maybe this is going to be a Vertices Unite. But yeah, so this is actually John Arbin Harvest Hues, and this is the Juniper colorway, which is clearly a green, blue, and I think a little bit of dark gray. Or is that even purple? I hope not. I really don't want it to be purple. No. We'll see. We'll see what the finished yarn will look like, but yes, I ordered this to go with that skein that I spun. And yes, and I kind of just briefly threw this in the camera, and so this is what I'm currently spinning on, which is from handmade Rolex, made of my, and I think this is just German sheep, just a random German sheep breed that didn't say specifically merino, although I think it might be. But it's obviously not quite as soft as like the Australian, New Zealand merino, because yeah, Germany has a little bit of a harsher climate. But I did blend it with some merino, and I think there's some linen in there. But I don't know the ratio at all. I just kind of throw it on the blending board until it looks good. And then, yeah, I made these Rolex. And this is what I'm spinning. Again, spinning long draw, because I did this actually in a short forward draw. Just to kind of not lose touch with that method. But I definitely prefer the long draw just because it's so nice and quick. So yeah, I wanted the next project to be long draw. So that's what I do. I haven't decided yet on how many plies I'll do. I don't even know what project, but I thought I wanted to do something with my naturally dyed fiber. So this is what I did. And yeah, that is everything. There, I just got to the end super fast. I might have an episode that's actually below an hour or even below 40 minutes. That would be nice. I feel like the episodes tend to get a little bit long. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. I hope I'll talk to you the next time a little bit sooner than this. I always feel like there's so many things I want to talk to you about, and then I rush through them and I don't really have time to actually talk about it. I don't know. That might not make any sense, but I hope you guys are well. We're entering a very interesting period. We're gonna send our daughter to daycare on Monday and I'm already dreading it. I'm not looking forward to that at all. This will be the final cut and I'll have to go back to work, which I'm also not looking forward. I mean, I'm already working at the moment, and my mom was helping out taking care of my daughter, which already gave me a little bit of a preview of how it's going to be when I'll put her to daycare. So I'm very curious to see how she'll deal with that and how I am going to deal with that. Leaving her with my mom, just like a room next door, is something different than just leaving her in a different building somewhere in the city. But yeah, that's definitely a big thing that's happening. But in 2 weeks, we're going on vacation to the Baltic Sea, which I'm really looking forward to. We're staying at a friend of my mom's house, which is super nice, which is apparently right by the beach. And yeah, I hope we're gonna have nice weather, that we can just chill out on the beach, and my daughter can just, she loves water. She loves water. And yeah, I'm planning on just knitting, having her play in the sand and the water, and then maybe go for a few walks along the ocean. That would be nice. Just a very relaxed, chill vacation before we then have to go work. Yay. Okay, enough of that. Thank you so much for tuning in this month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.